Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you are returning. Thanks for joining me today. I have some really fun and cute Valentine DIY ideas that are budget friendly, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. And as always, if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Let's get on with the Valentine DIY number one. I'm taking this thrifted wooden bowl. I've had this in my stash and I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do something with it. I originally was using it as is because I did like that wood look, but I decided, I can do something fun and pretty using some paint and some rub-on transfers. So the first thing I did here was took the color Moonlight. I believe it's by the chalk paint that Walmart used to carry. And it's sort of like a grayish color with a little hue of like purple in it. And for the outer part of this bowl, I'm going to use the color Mineral Chalk Paint by Waverly. And here I'm just giving it a rough coat. I didn't want it to be full coverage, as I did want that wooden color to show through, giving it like that distressed look that I like so much. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the drying process so I can keep moving. And I did add a little bit more paint in areas that I felt was lacking. So I didn't want it to look overly distressed, just in random areas here and there. So that is how it's looking so far. It's time to embellish the inner part of this bowl. I'm showing some Sola wood flowers that came from Dollar Tree some time ago. I'm also taking some of these beaded pearl trim. I grabbed some of these rub-on transfers and those pink pearl beads. I'm going to go ahead and create some design using these combination of these items. I do like the shabby chic look, so I thought that these rub-on transfers was perfect to give it that shabby chic sort of French country look. And I'm just going to go ahead and use those rub-on transfers to design the outer part of the bowl. I'm going to also add a few to the inner part of that bowl. But before I start adding these transfers, I did want to give this bowl some sort of a background design. And you will see that I will be using some stamps by IOD and also redesigned by Prima. So I'll be using this Kindest Regards stamp by IOD and a Stays On ink pad in the color brown. So I'm going to go ahead and just use portions of this stamp here, just adding some ink to the areas that I needed so that I can stamp all around the rim of this bowl. Just giving it, again, like that French country look to it. And I love decorations with script and things of that nature. I think it's really pretty, and it just adds a nice element to this bowl here. I'm also taking this stamp by Redesign, and this is just like a floral pattern. And I'm just going to use the same colored ink pad in that brown color. And this one I'm going to go ahead and stamp throughout the outside of this bowl, just placing it in random places. No rhyme or reason. Now this bowl here can be just a decorative piece on its own, because you'll see in the finished look that, it can definitely just stand alone. However, it can also hold items. So like if I place this like on a console table or something, it could be like an area where I can drop off keys. It can hold jewelry. You can put decorative like balls in here, or moss balls or anything like that. So items like this is very functional and decorative and works in so many ways. So I think this is just a great use of something like this when you find items like a wooden bowl or something at the thrift store. You can definitely upcycle or spruce it up so that it fits into your own decor and for your own needs. So here I'm just going to go ahead and start placing all of the rub-on transfers all throughout this bowl here. I'm just going to go in between the stamped images, you know, on top of it, wherever I feel like it needed it. Then I'm taking these Sola flowers here that came from Dollar Tree. They used to carry these in the cream color as well as this pink. I'm not sure if they still do, but I haven't seen them around in a while. I'm going to use those flowers to decorate the inner part of this bowl, and you'll see that here shortly. I'm also taking this pearl bead trim. It's not really a trim, it's just like gem stickers, like pearl stickers. They already have the adhesive backing to them, but I don't really trust that they're gonna stay on very well. So I did use some crazy glue, that gel, and I used that to secure those pearl beads down just to make sure that they don't go anywhere. I'm also using the help of some scissors just to help me with lifting those little pearl trim because they're so tiny and they were hard to grab. Once that step was done, I went ahead and hot glued all of those Sola flowers into the bowl. I wanted it to have sort of a cascading look where it's coming down on one side. And then to further embellish that, I took those beads, the pink beads, and I just hot glued them down in between some of those flowers just to add some more of that feminine look to it, as well as give it a little bit sparkle and just a little bit more design. I then took some of the bird rub-on transfers and I wanted to add that to either side of the cascading flowers, and I think that added a nice touch. I also added more of those floral rub-on transfers just throughout the inner part of the bowl, just to make everything look complete. This was a super easy upcycle of this wooden bowl. I love how it came out. It was such an easy and fun project to do. And again, it's super functional and I'm loving the look of it so far. I took some of these Crafter Square acrylic glossy finish. It's a liquid finish. As you can see, it comes in this little bottle here. And it basically, I believe it protects your project and adds some high gloss to it as well. I like the look of it. I mean, gloss isn't for every project, but I think that it definitely works in this bowl. And I feel confident that it will help to protect like the transfers from lifting or rubbing off. So here's how it looks. It looks very shiny. I then took some of these floral trims that I had on hand. They come as like a one like long piece, like ribbon. But I cut down the flowers so that they're, you know, separate. And I went ahead and just hot glued that down here and there in between those Sola roses that I added. And that completes this bowl. I love how it came out and I hope you guys enjoyed this first DIY. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And now it's time for DIY number 2. I'm going to be using these Hobby Lobby picture frames. They're the unfinished wood frames in the heart design. They came in a pack of 6. I picked this up, I believe, last year on clearance, and I went ahead and grabbed it for some DIY projects for this Valentine's. I'm going to show different ways of how I designed these frames, and I think they all came out super adorable, and I hope you guys will enjoy them as well. The first frame, I'm taking one of these rhinestone looking sheet of stickers. It's like a big sticker sheet here. It's adhesive backing. I'm going to trace out that frame and then cut out that little heart center right there so that this will sit nice and flush on top of that wood frame. And the great thing is that this beaded or rhinestone sticker here already has the adhesive backing, so no need for any additional hot glue. Okay, so now that I completed that part, I went ahead and added this really pretty floral lace trim that I used in my first DIY. This is how it looks when it's all connected. I just cut it down in half and then added it to each side of this heart here using some hot glue, and I think that definitely adds a nice touch. And to make this more of like a display, like artwork or, you know, an already made frame, I took one of these rub-on transfers, again from the Dollar Tree, and just picked that bird image out, holding like a locket in its mouth. And I went ahead and rubbed that on to the paper that comes with the picture frame. And then I used some ink pad in the green color and just distressed the edges and the front of this paper. And I think this one came out super adorable, so quick to make, and literally took minutes. The next DIY here, I'm taking another one of these wooden frames, again from the pack that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I'm using these mini wood hearts as well. I don't recall where I got those, but I found them in my craft stash. They're a little bit on the chunky side, so they are perfect to make look like conversation hearts. I took the color, I believe this is Mineral. It's the chalk paint by Waverly, and just gave this a good coat. I made sure to paint over the entire backside as well because I do like a finished look. I don't like a messy backside or anything like that. I picked out these apple barrel colors again for my stash. I just went and grabbed the colors that I wanted to paint these little hearts, again to make them look like conversation hearts, and just went ahead and painted up each of these. Once that was dry, I was going to go ahead and use a fine tip felt marker to write words in the front of each of these hearts. This one is super cute. I'm glad I found this in my craft stash because this was perfect for this DIY. Here I'm just taking this felt marker or felt tip pen and just writing random words that you would normally find on a conversation heart. It's really hard to see here, but I will show you how they look once I've completed writing on each of these hearts. This is a super fun idea, especially if you wanted to make like a decoration just for these little hearts, to make them look like little conversation hearts like in a pack or something. But I decided I was going to go ahead and hot glue these all over the front of this wood frame, just adding some embellishments and making this look colorful and playful. I used that super gel glue and just used that to attach each of these hearts just to make sure it had a permanent adhesion. And this is one of those super easy DIYs that you can make in a flash if you wanted some last minute decor, if you wanted to give this as a gift. This can certainly act as a regular picture frame. I'm just adding some inserts here just so that they're not blank when I go to show you the final reveal. And this would also make just a pretty decoration just as is, because I think the paper coordinates so well with the overall look of this frame, and I love it. Just like the first one, I think these came out super adorable. I hope you guys like this one as well. So for the next DIY, I'm taking another one of these wood frames. We're going to make this one slightly different. I'm using the color Elephant by Waverly. This is a nice dark gray color, perfect for a neutral Valentine decor. I'm going to do the same thing just by painting it up front and back side. Once the paint was completely dry, I'm going to take my pack of wooden buttons here. They're an assorted pack of buttons in different sizes. I'm going to go ahead and just dry fit all of the buttons around this heart cutout here. just to get an idea of which of the buttons and what sizes I wanted to use to embellish this frame. I think this one is super cute. I love the contrast of that wood on the buttons with that dark gray chalk paint. So I went ahead and just started hot gluing, or not hot gluing, I started gluing down all of the buttons using that same super glue gel until everything was complete. This one was super easy peasy. All I did was took one of my decorative cardstock. This one is just something I had on hand. I just found a design that coordinated well with the look of this frame and the colors. Traced around that heart insert that goes inside the frame and then added it to this picture frame. Again, this alone can make a nice decorative piece, or I can always remove that paper from the inside and just add a photo, which I'm sure I will at some point. But again, just for the purpose of showing you the final looks of each of these projects, I wanted you to have a visual of how it would look with something inside. And again, I really adore that look. Moving right along to the fifth picture frame. These were really fun to make. So if you like photos or frames and you're able to grab some of these heart wood frames, these are definitely something that you should try because they were super fun and easy, quick. I mean, you can't beat that. Instant gratification. So I'm taking the color steel and just painted up that picture frame. I then took this white wax, this is by DIY, just rubbed that all over the frame and then wiped it back with a dry napkin. This is just gonna mute the gray color, just giving it an aged look. And then I'm gonna add some of this dark wax. This is actually black wax by the same brand, DIY. And by adding the white wax first, it will allow the black wax to move a little bit more freely. So when I'm going and distressing it, or not distressing, but when I'm trying to wipe some of the excess off, I'm able to do so, because without that first layer of the white wax, it would just dry directly onto that wood, making it harder for that black wax to move, and then you'll probably get some unevenness. I'm taking this pack of candy cane stickers that Dollar Tree carried during Christmas. These are super cute, and the great thing is that I was able to remove the sticker from the back, which created the look of the candy canes. And by removing those, I was left with this blank slate. It's just a clear looking plastic, and I was able to create the shape of a heart using two pieces. I'm so glad that I was able to remove this sticker here. I wasn't really sure what it was. I thought maybe it was, I don't know, ingrained into the piece, but luckily it was just this piece of sticker that I was able to remove easily. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add some more of this super glue gel to each of the candy canes, again creating the shape of a heart. And I'm gonna repeat that with a second heart. Look how fun this is. Off camera, I did add some stickers to spell out the word sweet and some other embellishments. And then I framed like a bingo card that I had on hand just to show you how it looks when it's complete. I think this one is super adorable. And for the final DIY of this video, this one is going to be different. It's not a frame. I'm making some heart-shaped topiaries using some of that wired ribbon, and that came from Hobby Lobby. I'm also taking some of these sola flowers that I've had in my stash, as well as some Spanish moss. First thing I did was took some of that wired ribbon and I started shaping it into the shape of a heart. This was really easy since the ribbon is very pliable, super flexible. It's not really hard or anything to bend. So you can shape it into virtually anything that you wanted. So here I'm just gauging how I want my heart to look, how big I want it to be. And then once I had the overall design, I took the two ends and just twisted it around each other to create that little dip in the center of that heart. And then I'm just gonna adjust the shape of my heart by unbending the areas that were bent up too much or squeezed in too much until I got the look that I wanted. I'm also going to be using a pack of these terracotta pots that are from Dollar Tree. And that's going to be the base, or what's going to hold my topiary in place. These solar flowers are really pretty. I grabbed this from, believe it or not, Macy's Backstage. It's basically like a discounted version of Macy's. And they do carry some random things sometimes, like craft things that you might be able to find. And I grabbed this pack here that I've actually had for maybe a couple years. And I thought this would be a perfect project for this. I grabbed 3 of the ones that look like this. I'm not really sure what flower that is. And you'll see for the second topiary, I grabbed the rose version of this. I was deciding if I wanted them both to look identical, but I decided I wanted them to look different, but still coordinate since they are the same colors and size, essentially. I added some Spanish moss to the back so that way I could tuck it in nice and tight. And then I hot glued those flower pieces down. And wherever there was some space, I just added more Spanish moss. I took this stir stick that I had in my stash. These came from Lowe's. You can also grab them from Walmart. They carry these. And I cut them down to the height that I wanted my topiary to be. I used my miter shears to cut those down. Here, as you could see, I've already completed the second topiary off camera, and that one has the roses in it. So they're essentially the same everything with the exception of the type of flowers that I use. I'm using the color Mineral, also by Waverly, and I'm going to paint these flower pots or terracotta pots. I wanted to give this more of a neutral look, and you know, this could also be a year-round type of decor. It doesn't just have to be for Valentine's since it is neutral and it would fit into like French country look, shabby chic, you know, any of that sort of style. I'm using some of this distress paste. This is by the Ranger brand that I grabbed from Joann's. I'm using a palette knife to apply the texture paste all over this terracotta pot. This was trial and error. I wasn't really sure exactly what I was doing or what look I was going for, but I knew I wanted to add some texture. And I'm sure you can achieve this type of look by using spackling, but I really wanted to use this product since I already have it. Once that dried, and you do want to make sure it's dry, I added some of this decrepit dust. This is by DIY. And this is just a powder, like distressing style of powder by DIY that is amazing because you can give that sort of dirty look or distressed or aged look to anything. I'm repeating the same steps to the second terracotta pot, just adding more of that texture paste. This time around, I went a little bit more heavy-handed since I now knew exactly what look I was going for. The first one, I went a little light-handed. This time, I went a little bit more heavy-handed. And then I painted over some of those distress paste using the same mineral chalk paint. And then over the dry paint, I went ahead and added the decrepit dust. Here, I'm just dabbing it on to those raised areas and then dusting it off, just brushing it back into the container. So again, this product here is amazing. It's really fun to use, and I use it so often in a lot of my DIYs on my video. So here I'm showing you how it looks after it was complete. I'm taking that same decrepit dust and just lightly brushing it over those stir sticks just to make everything cohesive and give it that aged look as well. I'm adding some floral foam to the inside of these terracotta pots just so that it can hold my stir sticks in place. You can use hot glue just to make sure everything is attached, but I don't think I did in this case. After attaching the stir stick to the back of the heart, I added more of that Spanish moss to conceal the stir stick so that it looks good from all angles. And it also gives the stir stick more more ways to attach to the entire topiary. And I just kept going, making sure to add more Spanish moss as needed just to conceal the stir stick, make everything look complete. And then I just attached that stir stick into the floral foam, added some hot glue, and to the tops of the pot, I did scrunch up some craft paper, like the wrapping paper, like the brown craft paper. I just scrunched some up and then covered that top section, and then added some green moss to the top of that craft paper using some hot glue just to make sure everything, or for the most part, stayed in place. Now the reason I added the craft paper was just so I wouldn't have to use too much of the moss to completely cover up the pot. That about does it for this project, I believe. No, the last thing I did, which I guess I did not show, was I did add some ribbon and some beaded trim to the bottoms, as well as a button, as you can see in this picture here. But I love how it came out, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.